guys, this is Amber. I'm mom of 11 kids and we live in New York City, and we have 5 kids that attend the Juilliard program, 2 in the college program, 3 in the pre-college program, and then my oldest son just graduated from Manhattan School of Music. I've been living in this apartment. It's like a brownstone, so it's kind of like an apartment, kind of like a house, for the last 3 years, and each year we've had like a year lease, so we couldn't make a decision about like, oh, if we're gonna stay, if we're gonna go, until when the year lease ended. So that's why we've been here, even though financially it's been really hard for us to afford. Every time when the lease came around to renew, there was always something where it's like, okay, well, this is gonna happen and then everything's gonna be okay. And so anyway, but a lot of times that didn't actually happen. So financially, living here has been a real struggle. What I said in the other video, our neighbor didn't like that the kids practiced, and it wasn't like, you know, after hours practice, or it wasn't like after 10 or whatever. It was just like middle of the day, 3 in the afternoon, violin practice. He didn't like it, and so he threatened to sue us and maybe our landlord. And so a week later, our landlord gave us a notice to vacate, and so we have to be out of this place July 15th. We've been looking everywhere. We've been looking in the outer boroughs. Some people have sent us some really amazing apartments. A number of them in Brooklyn, which I love the idea of Brooklyn. Of course, Queens is also really nice. A lot of the ones that we found also in Brooklyn, it's what we have here. A lot of them are converted brownstone type situations. Whenever you're looking for more than 2 bedrooms, a lot of times it's hard to find an actual 3-bedroom apartment in the city, because everything is kind of allocated more for like single people, or maybe single people with a roommate. Like 3 bedrooms is kind of the top, and we have, if we were still going to live here, we would have 10 kids living with us. The landlords aren't really excited about 12 people moving into a 3-bedroom apartment. That would not be the situation. So it's really hard to find like the 4 or the 5-bedroom places at all in this city. And if you do find them, they're usually crazy expensive, because like this is technically, I guess, like a 5-bedroom, but it's, you know, it's skinny because it's brownstone, but it's 5 floors. So we've been trying to look everywhere, but anyway, the situation in Brooklyn is you've got like wall on this side, wall on this side, but then in addition to the wall on this side, this side, you have somebody above you that would be complaining about the music, or somebody below you that would be complaining about the music as well. So we had to, like, you know, not go for those. Somebody sent us a gorgeous, like, freestanding, I think it was maybe in the Crown Heights-ish area, beautiful, like, standalone house, like no walls connected, in Brooklyn, and that was gorgeous. But it was $7,000 a month, and it was just, we're so, just like everything is just like shriveling up for us financially right now, and so yeah, we couldn't do that. It seems like some of the places in Queens, every time we'd find a place and it'd be like, yes, it's perfect, and boop, someone else rents it right away. What the additional problem, it's hard to explain. Like, I don't know any families, like, online. This is just a, like, you know, a tiny snippet of people, but I don't know anybody that has over 7 kids that does not own a house. And of course, yes, we used to own a house, and we sold it to try and, you know, do this music thing. We did originally have the intention of buying a house in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it was right during the pandemic and we couldn't buy anything. So no one would let us buy anything because we had just switched income. We just ended up having to rent, and renting was crazy because nobody wanted us in their house, because at the time we had 9 kids. And I would call on places that were like, you know, 4 bedrooms, you know, pretty big places, and I would call, and sometimes the person, the landlord or whoever was listing the place, didn't speak English very well, and so, you know, I'd say like, hey, this is like in Richmond, so this is East Bay. Hey, you know, I'd like to rent this apartment that I see online, and she said, you know, they want to know about your family. So, you know, it's like, me and my husband, and we have 9 kids, and she said, one kid, right? And I said, no, 9. And she said, you mean 1, right? And I said, no, 9. And she said, 9 kids? Too many. She hung up the phone on me. So that was kind of the, like, usually I didn't get quite that response, because technically that response is, according to HUD, not legal. What ended up happening, there was a 2-bedroom apartment, but it was really big. Like, I had a lot of extra rooms in San Francisco proper. And this was after being rejected and denied and denied and denied for no other reason except for our family size, even on big places. So there was this 2-bedroom place, the lady didn't even ask. I think they were just desperate, because San Francisco proper was having a really hard time during the pandemic renting out places, because everyone was leaving the city and going to the East Bay. And so San Francisco had this kind of like, just, it's like zombie apocalypse of like nobody was renting the places, and so I think they were just desperate to rent it. But then when they found out we had 9 kids, they tried to like take us out. But I talked to HUD and I was like, okay, they're trying to kick us out. Like, what's going on? Like, are we legally allowed to be in this apartment? And so we gave the measurements. We said what were technically bedrooms, but then there were also some kind of like bonus rooms there. And I gave the measurements to HUD, and HUD's like, yeah, you guys are totally fine. You guys can have 12 people in that apartment based on the size and so forth. And so that was like, we had 11. So we're like, okay. And they said, in fact, if they try and get you out, you know, we can, you know, I don't know what they do to landlords that, you know, don't follow the HUD rules, but it would be illegal for them to try and kick us out because of our family. So for 2 years, they had like a stay on being able to do like kick us out or raise rent or whatever. So it was like, whew, we had 2 years of like peace. So when we tried to come to New York, we were like, oh no, there's going to be the same problem. And we tried to get like a 3-bedroom and say the same response, like just like phone, you know, phone drop, like we're not talking to you. But then this place, the landlord, he was originally from Portugal, and he's Jewish, so I don't know if it's Orthodox Jewish, but you know, Orthodox Jewish people tend to have more kids. Jewish people in general tend to have more kids. In Israel, I think the average family is like five kids to a family, which is way higher than anything here in America. So in Portugal, our landlord, his family had been denied housing. He was in a family of 8, so he had 8 siblings, or he was one of 8, and then there's 2 parents. And he had been denied housing because of their family, and so I think the dad ended up building something in Portugal. They asked us, this was the first place, besides that 3-bedroom place that we applied to, and the landlord's agent asked us, like, you know, occupancy, because you're allowed to ask occupancy. You're not allowed to ask, do you have kids? But occupancy is going to give us away anyway. And so my husband, after that, you know, this is when we had 12 because we had Moses by this time. He told the agent, we have 12 occupancy and 10 kids, 2 adults. And the landlord's agent was like, okay. Landlord's agent is also Jewish, so it's like, you know, culturally they're more open to children, but still, I mean, we're not Jewish, we're just, you know, I mean, I imagine like if you wanted to get something in like, you know, Crown Heights or something and you were also Jewish, like there's a culture there where they totally understand kids that's pretty much absent from Manhattan. But anyway, so our landlord was like just honestly just really cool about it. And he's like, you know what, I was denied housing, you know, when I was a kid, and I'll help you guys out. And so he picked us. And so at the time, we had money in the bank because we had sold our house. We were planning on buying something, but just like life got in the way. And we had like a credit score of like 800-ish. Like it was like pretty good. I mean, that's a decent credit score. And we had no debt, and so on paper we looked really good. You know, our income wasn't like amazing. It definitely wasn't what it should have been for this place, but we're like, hey, we've got these things in the works that are probably gonna take off, and you know, anyway, so he gave us a chance, and miraculously, you know, these 3 years we've been able to pay the rent. It's been like a really hard thing, but you know, somehow miraculously there'd always be something that worked out. But now that we have to get out of here, things are kind of imploding financially for us, on top of us having to get out of here, and so we're not able to find a place that works for our family. And we've prayed about it, and you know, this is not to say that God can't 7th inning throw a home run in our direction and everything, but we are not able to find a place around here. And so it looks like we're going to have to move back to San Diego. Why San Diego? People are like, oh, that's an expensive city. Well, there's a number of reasons. California in general, we have a trailer. People ask why we didn't sell our Airstream trailer. If we're hurting financially, we owe more on it than it's worth. So it is a depreciating asset, but one of the reasons why we were interested in that trailer was it fit our big family, and it was something that our van could pull. And in general, they're made pretty well to kind of withstand, you know, more than kind of the 2 years that some RVs, a lot of times it's like 2 years and the slide breaks. I've just heard so many like bad stories. There was a kind of a durability that we had heard about, and so it was a little more expensive. The monthly payments, I don't know if this is normal, but the monthly payments, they were able to stretch over like so many years that it's not a very high monthly payment. So that was like, okay, that'll work. Almost like a mortgage. Yeah, so it's a very long we'll be paying for it for a long time, but in the meantime you can use it, because that's kind of the idea. The one thing about living in a trailer is the East Coast is like, no, unless it's like Florida, it's so cold in the winter. You can't live in a trailer in the winter if you need to live in a trailer. California, it's like a place where we've stayed at like truck stops in California, and it's like cold outside and it's not comfortable in the trailer if we don't have heat and this and that. But it's not, you're not gonna die, you know, so you'll be okay. California's obviously a good choice for that. Other reason for San Diego is I have family there, and also Mark called, and he called his old job and he's like, hey, I think we need to move back to San Diego. And his old boss was like, okay, you can have your job back, you know, like, well, it wasn't exactly his same job, but in the same workplace, and offered him his job back. And it's like, it's not a huge amount of income, you know. Unfortunately he went to school for graphic design, which works the wise is not the best degree. Anything in the arts is hard to make money in, which is why I tell my kids after they graduate with their music degree, I'm like, you should do something else. So Josiah's doing law, and I'm encouraging Elijah maybe to get his MBA, and I'm encouraging Noah to do maybe engineering, and I mean our girls too, if whatever they want to do. But in general, most of my girls, they've expressed that they want to get married, and so whatever they would do would probably just be a supplemental income. But who knows? I mean, I'm just saying, don't put all your eggs in the music basket. Anyway, so Mark works as a graphic designer, and that it's hard to find like good paying work in that. So it's a blessing that he was able to get the job back, and it's in the sign industry. So he's able to take his graphic design skills plus his like 3D reasoning engineering mind and use it in the sign industry. And so that's super cool. Yeah, we have family. He has friends. It's a place where we can kind of, I think, get back on our feet. The other thing is we know the music situation there. The whole reason we left San Diego was because they didn't have a music conservatory there. So we went to San Francisco Conservatory of Music first. Our friends, the Brashears family, went there, and it was a really great experience. But then Pearl's teacher was like, you know, I think you should try for something more fantastical or whatever. And so that's when we moved to New York and did Juilliard, and it was a great experience. And that's the one sad thing, is leaving Juilliard. That's kind of it. I mean, the city's interesting, the city's, you know, but like as far as like, I don't do restaurants, I don't do any of that stuff. Like if I had a choice between a 5-star New York restaurant and eating lentil soup at home, every time I'm gonna pick lentil soup at home. Whenever I go out, I just feel like how much sodium and sugar that they stick in this stuff. I just know, like, when I'm making my own little bowl of lentil soup, I'm like, I know it's in there and it feels good and it feels healthy, and I don't know. I prefer lentil soup over 5-star dining, so I'm not really a New York lady, I guess. I'm kind of like a California hippie that transplanted herself into New York, and I guess I don't fit in here. I know the music situation there, I know the good teachers, and so our kids so what's gonna happen with the kids? Josiah, he's married, he's gonna have a baby, that's so exciting. He got a free scholarship to Temple University. He just graduated from Manhattan School of Music. He got a free scholarship to go to the law school at Temple in Pennsylvania, which is where his wife is from. So that's super exciting. Like, she has a huge family. So she comes from a big family. Her mom's family is big, and I think her grandma's family is, so it's like big. So when we were at the wedding, it was so fun. Like, we were dancing and everyone knew each other. It was the best time ever. And what's so funny is I went to this like Planet Hollywood party. It was like this like influencer event, and it was the boringest thing I'd ever been to in my life. Like, I knew I was supposed to maybe take some footage of it because I got like free admission. I just drank water there. Like, I don't like drinks. I don't like any of that stuff. Oh, I did have some of the hors d'oeuvres, and they were like, you know, not lentil soup. They weren't lentil soup. But everyone just sat around, and everyone was like trying to see Alec Baldwin or 50 Cent, or, you know, and it's like, I don't know. If I want to see Alec Baldwin, I can Google him, right? I mean, it's not that big of a... If I want to see 50 Cent, I can watch YouTube. Like, it was boring. But this party with my son's wife's family was so fun because there was cousins everywhere and just everyone was having an absolute blast. And that was fun. And so I'm so excited for Josiah. He gets to be part of this really robust, very tight-knit family. And, you know, their baby's gonna be like, probably, Eleanor and Josiah will probably barely hold that baby. So there's gonna be so many people over there just loving on that child. So I'm excited about that. So that's Josiah. Pearl, she has a full scholarship to Juilliard, so she'll be fine. She got a teacher's aide job that we helped her with certain things while we were here, and like as you know things got harder for us financially, we could help less and less. Pretty soon she was helping us, so it's like because she had won some stuff and she's like, hey, I want to help you guys out. So she has a teacher's aide position for the theory department at Juilliard. So she's gonna be good, and she's a best friend that already has an apartment here, and so she's gonna stay in the extra room of that apartment. Elijah was the one I was really worried about because he's just a freshman at the Juilliard College program. And I was like, I don't know how it's gonna work out, but there was somebody that said they'd help him with housing. He's still gonna have to work and this and that, but like that was like godsend, miracle. Like, how did that even happen? And his scholarship is almost full, so I mean that's a huge blessing. Like, he will have to work, but it's like I think it's gonna be doable. I think he's gonna be able to stay here and go to Juilliard and finish the next 3 years. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves the teachers. He loves music. And the more I'm learning about music is like, music is 10% notes and 90% business. He's good at business, but I do feel he could probably on the side, maybe online or something, take some business courses, because it really is, music is beautiful, but to make money in it's like art. It's a hard thing. So I'm just hoping he kind of can find his niche in that world. He's a fantastic cellist. But here's the other thing. So while I was here, I know this is just like where all the classical music people in the world kind of congregate maybe, but I was really surprised by Josiah's graduation. I showed a teeny bit of it, but we were there for over like 2.5 hours. There was a sea of people that graduated. The doctorate, masters, undergrad, all these things, but it was a sea of people that were graduating, and it took so long to have all the people walk through. And I'm not saying I didn't love the graduation, I did, but it was eye-opening that all of these people are going into the classical music world and trying to get a job. And Pearl was watching her friend graduate from Juilliard, and this was online, I wasn't there in person, but same thing, the sea of people going out into the world to try and find a job. And so one of our original cello teachers, this was one of Elijah's original cello teachers, Mr. Campbell, he was in the San Diego Symphony, and he was saying that a second violin position opened up, and there were 200 applicants for that second violin position in the symphony. The concertmaster position opened up, there were 500 applicants for that. So it's a very, very crowded situation. Our luthier that we go to here in New York City, we were talking about how Josiah was going to go to law school. It's just, it's a very crowded world in the classical music, and the luthier is like, he's from Germany, and I can't do his accent. He says, this is good, the good, he says. It, particularly now, and I love Asian people, but what he's saying is that Chinese people, their language is tonal, and so they can play with perfect pitch and perfect accuracy notes that those of us that don't speak a tonal language, we struggle with. And so he said it's like Chinese, like the Chinese language is tonal, and so they basically are born into being able to do things that those of us who don't have that kind of language, it's harder for us. And so it's hard to break into that world, even harder now, just because there's the influx from the East, and like they're amazing people, but it's gonna be harder and harder to get a place. That was eye-opening. And so I'm just telling Elijah, just be aware that you're gonna have to find your way. You're gonna have to find your voice. You're gonna have to find your space, and you're gonna have to make it work, and he understands that. But you know, I'm just giving him the warning. I think sometimes as parents, our kids grow up and we're like, you're the best of the bestie best, you know, because that's what I've always been with the kids. I'm like, you guys are so good, you know, and like I still believe that, you know, but you have to convince everyone else that you're the best of the bestie best, and that's the thing. I guess that's marketing, right? Yeah, so we'll see how that all works out. Now the younger kids, okay, so I have 3 kids in pre-college Juilliard, so that would be Naomi and Noah and Chloe. Unfortunately, Anna auditioned and never got in. There's just such an influx of cellists trying to audition for pre-college. And also, there's just not a lot of spaces for cellists. And also, what's going on with pre-college is that not everybody that's going to pre-college necessarily wants to be, or the parents or whatever, want their kids to be classical musicians. A lot of times it's like, this would look good on the Harvard application. So, you know, there's just so much competition there beyond just like people that want to do music. It's like, I need this for my college application to look good. And so, man, it's a cutthroat. So Anna never did get in, but you know, the 3 that did get in, you know, it's a hit for them, and they're sad. But you know, there's a book called The Obstacle. I think it's Obstacle is the Way, and it just talks about how sometimes bad things happen, but they actually are the way that lead us in our lives. And I do feel that may be the case, particularly for Naomi. Like, one of her favorite classical music composers is Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer never even went to music school. He really enjoyed experimenting, particularly with electronic music, which is, you know, the world is your oyster there, because you don't even have to have a orchestra at your disposal. You can just create the music in a computer. It's remarkable. And he never went to music school. And in San Diego, we're going to be 2 hours south of LA, where the movie industry is biggest. And so who knows, maybe her being closer to the movie industry will actually help her. She wants to do composing. Also Noah, like, he loves bass, but he also loves building, and just his spatial reasoning skills and everything is really amazing. So he may enjoy something like engineering as well. So maybe he'll be a bass playing engineer, or an engineer playing bass, or who knows, you know, what can happen there. And there's a lot, because the military presence is very heavy in San Diego, there's a lot of open jobs there. As far as mechanical engineering is really good, structural engineering, there's a lot of things that some of the colleges around there really are very good at, and there are good bass teachers. The music program, like, I've looked at some of the music programs, there's just no conservatory. That's really the problem. But we are, like, once again, 2 hours south of, there's a couple of conservatories in LA. So he doesn't drive right now, but who knows? I mean, there are people that go from San Diego to LA all the time, and so that may be a possibility. First of all, we just need to get our feet under us financially, like, already. So we're gonna have 8 minor children with us, basically. And I am excited for the little kids, because there's a really good Suzuki group. We couldn't find a Suzuki group here, so the Suzuki group that we used to go to, the little kids will be able to go to that, and they'll have a blast with that, I'm sure, and it'll help them so much. That's basically why our kids are what they are, is this Suzuki group we went to in San Diego. And so I'm excited to go back to that. As far as financially, we just need to get back on our feet already. Even when we had money in the bank, an 800-ish credit score, we still, you know, people would just hang up the phone on us. They didn't want us in their house. So right now that we have a bad credit score because we're in so much debt, we are not anybody's first choice. So my goal is to use us being close to family that can help us out potentially as just a more sure and steady spot to be able to get out of the financial doldrums that we are currently in. So that's our plans. We are going to head back to San Diego as far as it looks right now. And I love New York, and I'm so grateful for all that we've learned here. It's changed us in a lot of really good ways, and I'm grateful that we had the experience. You know, if you go back in the Wayback Machine, you know, what have I just stayed? Maybe, but you can't do the time machine thing. Sometimes God allows you to find out for yourself. Maybe, you know, it's like We prayed about it, and we felt like it was the Lord leading us, and we could have been wrong. That's very possible. But right now we're just trying to get back on our feet financially, and we're heading out west. So starting in July, we're gonna be heading towards California. It's gonna take a while because, you know, it's hard to move, you know, trailer and everything across the country. But yeah, so that's our goal. See you in San Diego.